You need people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. A light at the end of the tunnel for Bakram Murtazaliev, who's ready to return in the United Kingdom. Kathy Duva of Main Events has revealed that negotiations for Bakram Murtazaliev versus Josh Kelly are being held up by the pursuit of a broadcaster to show their proposed fight for the IBF junior middleweight title. The promoter of Murtazaliev, the IBF champion, hopes that the Russian will return to the ring by the conclusion of this year, having started to share her leading fighter's frustration that there has been so little interest in challenging him since last year's stoppage of Tim Kazoo. If on that night at the Caribe Royale in Orlando, Florida, he demonstrated that he is perhaps the world's leading junior middleweight, he also became the most avoided champion in the most competitive weight class. Bakram is with Main Events, who do not have a broadcast partner. Josh Kelly is with Wasserman, that at least up until recently they did. They were over there broadcasting their fights on Channel 5 in the UK. I don't know if that's still going on. The combination of a hand injury and his observing of Ramadan contributed to the delay he experienced in fighting before Kelly became his favorite opponent. But before the IBF ordered him to defend his title against the Englishman, they had installed Erickson Lubricant as his mandatory challenger and watched Lubin agree to fight Virgil Ortiz instead this upcoming November. Having fought Kazoo in the United States and before then Jacques Colquet in Germany to win the vacant title, Murtazaliev, 32, is expecting to fight Kelly in the UK. Kelly, perhaps, unlike many of their divisional rivals, has been vocal about his desire to be his next opponent, and to that end, his trainer and manager, Adam Booth, is attempting to deliver him home field advantage for the night of his biggest fight. I've been in touch on almost a daily basis with Adam Booth, Duva Tote Box and Scene. We're very much on the same page. We want the fight to happen, and we're seeking a home for it. This is the new world we're in, where there are very few places to go. You've got to get someone on board with you. We've been having very optimistic talks, but I heard a long time ago, the best way to derail negotiations is by talking about it. So we're just going to keep that amongst ourselves for now, and hope for the best. I think the UK is the best place. That's the place that makes the most logical sense. I'm not going to rule out the United States, but at this point, Adam and I are both eager to put the fight in the UK. We've got to find a television network first. That's where our efforts are at the moment. I very much hope it will happen this year. Is Wasserman no longer with Channel 5? I guess not. Duva and Murtazaliev's manager, Egis Klimas, have been criticized for his inactivity and the fact that Kazoo, having been stopped by Murtazaliev in 3 rounds, has already fought twice, including once for the WBC title in a rematch with the champion, Sebastian Fundora, during the period in which Murtazaliev hasn't fought once. But she insisted that Fundora was among those who turned Murtazaliev down. Not surprising. We've been joking around the office that we're going to give him the nickname, the most dangerous man in the world. The way people are acting, she said. He injured his hand in the fight last year, and that recovery period was followed immediately by Ramadan. He's fought during Ramadan. He did it when he had to fight Jack Colquet, but it was really hard on him. He asked me to promise that we wouldn't ask him to fight during Ramadan again. Then you need time to train. He's got to make weight. You're looking at a period of inactivity that we expected up until June. We weren't trying to make anything happen before June. During that period of inactivity, I was trying very hard to get something going with PBC for him to fight Fundora, and instead of fighting Bakram, he decided to fight the guy Bakram knocked out. That gives you an idea of what we're up against. It's not surprising. I anticipate Sebastian's reign at champion at 154 will come and go without him fighting Bakram without him unifying with anyone. Kathy Duva continued, I had a lot of talks with PBC, and for one reason or another, they just weren't able to deliver. At that point in June, I started to talk to Adam about perhaps putting together the Kelly fight, and in the midst of that, the IBF informed us that his mandatory was due. The inactivity from our point of view has only been a few months. He'd have been fighting in October had Lubin not pulled out. We had an agreement with PBC for him to fight Lubin. That was going to be on the October card that Fundora's on against Keith Thurman. But then Lubin pulled out. Being a champion for Lubin didn't mean as much as making a big purse. That's why I think he pulled out, because Golden Boy is paying him better to fight Virgil than PBC would have paid him to fight Bakram. Now we've got Josh Kelly. That's cool. We wanted to make that fight in the first place, and it's just a matter of trying to get it done. It's the nature of the business. It takes months to go from the idea of a fight to it actually happening. We are working hard at it, but it's frustrating. During that period of inactivity, Ortiz Jr. was offered a fight with Bakram twice, and he turned it down.
Him too?
The second time, he accepted it. And the next day, he came to the conclusion that he wasn't going to be able to handle a second-day weigh-in. This is the guy coming up from welter, fighting Bakram, who, to look at him, could easily be a super middleweight.
Kathy Duva is exposing a lot of people.
The excuses are very transparent. Fundora won't fight him. Ortiz Jr. won't fight him. I come from a time in boxing when this kind of behavior was unthinkable. Everything is different now. Considering that we were negotiating prior to the mandatory coming up, I have no reason to doubt Josh Kelly's eagerness to fight, and unless something very unexpected happens, I think he wants to fight. That's all I can think. He wants the title. This is more of a traditional, I want to take advantage of an opportunity and get the world title mindset.
Do you notice that she had to go to a Brit to find someone with that mindset? Because when she was talking to the Americans, they didn't want to do it.
You can't win if you can't take the chance. I have great respect for the fact he's willing to take the chance. I've seen underdogs win fights too many times. We're talking about him having a fairly home field advantage. If you get the chance to fight for the title and you don't take it, what does that make you? I don't think that should change. We thought twice now that we had a fight with Ortiz Jr. Okay, we'll fight Erickson Lubin. And the rug got pulled from under us again.
Take a head count. That's 3 American fighters that ducked Bakram.
According to Kathy, what can you do? This is life. Duva, the head of the decorated promotional organization Main Events, was then asked about the difficulty of promoting a non-English speaking Russian in the United States, and she responded, I could have said the same thing with Sergey Kovalev, and we did okay with him. I could say the same thing about Gennady Golovkin. The loss of HBO and Showtime in the United States as a destination to put on fights was incalculable. It was hard selling the idea of Sergey. He had to accept fighting Nathan Cleverly for the title at $100,000. Sergey said, fine, let's go. I want the title, I don't care about the money. That attitude certainly helped. Nathan Cleverly wasn't afraid to fight him. Once he won that fight, that night in 2013, HBO was kind of stuck with him, but we had the platform where we could go out and start promoting him, doing all the things that we ended up doing to get him to be a star. I had the platform on NBC Sports Network, which was where we first were able to give him the fights he needed to climb the rankings. All of that is gone now. Without those platforms, promoting a foreign fighter in the United States is virtually impossible.
Wouldn't say it's impossible so much as different. If you have a foreign fighter and you want to introduce him to an American audience, DAZN might be the best destination because they're an international streaming platform.
If you look back on Main Events' history, foreign fighters fighting in the United States is our sweet spot. We had Lennox Lewis and Arturo Gatti, and we had David Tua and Ike Corte. There were a whole bunch of them. They were all brought here, and they were all promoted, and they were foreigners who fought in this country and didn't, with the exception of Gatti, have natural constituencies here from their countries. The HBO platform, in some cases, Showtime as a platform, gave us a place to show them to an audience here and make them popular. We also worked with Dmitry Bivol. Look at the career he's having. It's got more to do with the lack of opportunity over anything else. It's frustrating as hell. Bakram, if you watch him, is one of the most exciting fighters in the world. And he's one of the most dangerous fighters in the world, and he has a world title, yet people are afraid to fight him. I'm very confused at that attitude. Here's a guy with a world title, and a guy like Virgil Ortiz is choosing, instead of fighting him, fighting the guy who was clearly afraid to fight him? Then there's Fundora, fighting the guy who Bakaram beat already, to the point where he shouldn't have been back in the ring with a world champion so soon. It's crazy. And I get some of the reasons for this. We have huge offers for him to go to Russia to fight, but we can't take them in this climate. And rightfully so, I don't disagree with the reasons why, but we're stuck where we're stuck. Fundora versus Thurman, Ortiz versus Lubin, and Jerenenis versus Lima will take place before Murtazaliev and 31-year-old Josh Kelly, should a broadcaster be secured, finally meet in the ring. The junior middleweight division, particularly in light of Gervonta Davis prioritizing a farcical exhibition with Jake Paul over rivals at lightweight, has therefore come to be seen as the strongest and most competitive in the world. Xander Zayas, Sergey Boachuk, Israel Madrimov, and Tim Tszyu are among its leading fighters, but Duva said if the guys would get in the ring with each other, it would be the best. I don't see a lot of interest in any of them in doing it. There's fabulous fighters out there. If they start fighting each other, it would be spectacular. We'd have another Leonard versus Hearns, Duran versus Hagler situation. It's very comparable. I get the money. There's this sense that if I wait, Turkey El Sheikh's gonna give me $10 million to fight somebody, so I'm not gonna take $1 million or $500,000. We promoted Leonard versus Hearns. There was never a sense that this fight's not gonna happen. I'm gonna sit and wait for a bigger payday down the line. It was we'll fight each other now, and a payday will come after.
Will come after that because I'll win, or I'll lose, but I'll look great.
What Kathy Duva is referencing here is something we talk about on the channel all the time. The change in the mentality, especially of the American fighter.
Defeatist mentality.
They've lost the fight before they've even accepted the fight based on their attitude towards the fight. So many American fighters, Lubin, Ortiz, Fundora, don't want nothing to do with Bakaram, because they don't really think they can beat him. Just ask yourself, if Sebastian liked his chances against Bakaram as much as he liked his chances against him, then you would go with Bakaram, because Bakaram at least has a belt.
Same applies to Virgil. If he liked his chances against Bakaram, he would go with him over Lubin because Bakaram at least has a belt.
They don't want to know. But Josh Kelly does, at least Kathy Duva hopes so. Josh Kelly, who's in his early 30s and is getting on in age, I feel like it's now or never for this guy unless you've settled in to the domestic scene and you want to stay there. If you aspire to do more, this is your opportunity.
This is it.
Out of the amateurs and into the pros, there was a lot of buzz around Josh, and I don't feel that he has yet lived up to that hype. That loss to David Avanesian has a lot to do with that.
And I think he would lose to Bakaram Murtazaliev if they actually make this fight. The hang-up seems to be finding a broadcast partner. If Channel 5 is not on board, Channel 5 in the UK, maybe they can pitch this fight to DAZN that work with several smaller promotional outfits. It's not just Matchroom and Golden Boy.
There's OTX, there's Dimitri Salita, there's Dream Boxing. Maybe they can pitch this fight, at least the US broadcast rights to it, to DAZN, and maybe that can help pay for it. Kathy is right that the UK is the ideal site for the fight. Americans aren't interested in watching a Russian fight an Englishman.
The UK would be the ideal place to do it because Josh is from the UK, but if they do it, I think Josh is going to lose. I think he's going to get knocked out.
She believes he wants the fight, or maybe she just wants him to want the fight because they're painted into a corner when it comes to Bakaram. Maybe that's just wishful thinking. We'll see if this works out.
Do you have a prediction on the fight for Canelo Alvarez?
We're gonna beat this motherfucker's ass, dog. It ain't no cakewalk. We're gonna beat his ass, so I promise you that.
And what's your message to the naysayers that Terrence is too small?
Watch and see. I ain't steered you wrong yet. And I ain't in the business to start now. Fuck that shit. I tried to tell them about Spence, but they didn't want to listen. Oh, Bo, I don't know what you talking about. This is day. Oh, what the motherfucking shit. All right.
What is there to talk about? You fighting the best fighter in the world. You better be taking it serious. You know, that goes to show, you know, how serious he's taking me and how much he respects me. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, if I haven't fought anyone, if I was too small, if I was, you know, all these things that all the media said I was, then he wouldn't need these guys to help prepare him to fight me. He wouldn't, need all the help that, he's getting. But I'm happy that he's getting the help that he needs because, after, September 13th, there'll be no excuses.
Was Terence Crawford's reaction when asked about Canelo Alvarez sparring Jaron Boots-Ennis approximately 2 weeks out from their fight in preparation for him? I don't expect Bud to be moved by it.
I think the boxing fans and the boxing media made more of it than it actually is because, that's what sparring is. That's what sparring is for. You get sparring partners that can mimic who you're about to fight.
I feel like Terence's response was sort of similar to my own, that shows Canelo's switched on, he's paying attention, he's not on autopilot like he was for some of these other guys that he has been fighting, and that's good. That's a good sign.
No excuses.
But for the first time, as a boxing fan, as a fan of Terence Crawford, I'm not betting on him.
Nope.
I'm not betting on him in this situation. It would defy logic if Terence won.
Conventional wisdom.
And even if boxing is often referred to as the theater of the unexpected, more often than not, what you expect to happen actually happens.
It's what usually happens. You know that initially, in secret, I was gonna bet the draw.
That the fight goes to the cards and the judges score it a draw. That's what I initially thought. But just thinking about how much is working against Terence here and watching so many people in the media underestimate Canelo.
When even the very best version of Terence Crawford I've seen at 135 or at 140, 147.
He gets hit, folks. He's not Pernell Whitaker. He's not a defense-first fighter. He's a dog. If you hit him hard, he's gonna want his lick back, for better or worse. In a situation like this, I think it works against him. And tack on that Terence is more of a mid-range fighter. Most of the time, he's not an outside cutie pie.
He can be.
If he deems it necessary, but a lot of the time, he's mid-range to stay with and stay on his opponent because he likes to hurt guys. Don't forget, he knocked out every welterweight they've put in front of him. He's not a safety-first fighter.
And the way that Bomac is talking, they're gonna beat the shit out of Canelo. It just leads me to believe that,
they're not shrinking in the moment like Jermel Charlo did or Edgar Berlanga. They're not taken aback by Canelo's celebrity or that they're fighting in a big Canelo fight. They've got an assignment.
And they're not starstruck. They're focused. They're gonna try it. That doesn't mean it's gonna work.
The reason I don't think it's gonna work is because, like I said, Terence is not an outside cutie pie. He's not a safety-first fighter.
Terence is spiteful. He likes to hurt guys. If he tries to hurt Canelo, he could get hurt.
Don't tell me that you watched the Madrimov fight and how many right hands Madrimov was able to land, and you don't think Canelo can land right hands like that. It really hasn't been said enough in the buildup of this fight that is only 2 weeks away, a little over 2 weeks, that if Madrimov can touch you up, Canelo can touch you up. Except Canelo is many times over a better boxer than a Madrimov, more proven,
more experienced, and a bigger puncher fighting at a much heavier weight that he is used to.
So I've got Canelo. For the very first time, I'm not going with Terence to win. I'm gonna go with Canelo.